Wow, this is 40.
This is like the episode, but like the movie.
Yeah,
like the movie, but our episode number.
Yeah,
for 40 episodes of Trailer Hitch.
Not to throw too much shade, but I hope it's better than This is 40. I hope it's more memorable.
Look,
Hi, I'm Kevin.
I'm James.
This is Trailer Hitch. It's our 40th episode. We're going to celebrate it by talking about more trailers and reviewing trailers.
Cheers. I'm going to say cheers to that and happy 40.
Happy 40.
Yeah, thanks.
You can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
Turn the lights, grab a seat, pour yourselves a whiskey neat. It's time to judge the shit out of these future releases by the movie trailers. We're Trailer Hitch. This movie might totally suck, but the whiskey sure is going down fine. Yeah, we're Trailer Hitch.
Anyway,
what do we normally do, though, James?
We're feeling old. I guess that's where we're going with this.
What do we actually do here, James?
What do we actually do is we rate and we review movie trailers.
We absolutely do, yes. We rate those on a scale of need to see more, or never need to see.
It's an excellent scale, and sometimes we rate the movies themselves based on the trailers that we reviewed and rated. Mm-hmm. Is that going to happen this episode? Who's to say? I don't know. I'm just here on the ride, man.
Well, and the ride is going to get pretty interesting because tonight we have The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. This is a trailer for the new Terry Gilliam
brand new
film,
trailer, right? Yep.
Which has, I think, been in development hell for the past 2 decades.
I was gonna say 20 years. Yeah.
I'm still not convinced this movie's actually coming out. I'm happy that I have this trailer. I'm glad that we get to talk about it tonight, James. But at the same time, I'm not going to believe this actually exists until it's in a theater. But on top of The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, we are also keeping up with our need-to-see movies. So when James and I both give something a need-to-see rating,
right,
we see that movie, we give a little review, we look at the trailer in retrospect and did it set us up well enough for the movie, and then we talk about the movie itself. And we have 2 of those.
Oh,
today.
wait, hang on one second. Let me just take a drink of my whiskey here.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Did you say we have 2 trailer in the rear views?
Yes, I do. Do you need me to? I'll sweep.
I'll get a towel later.
Okay.
Just forget it, Kevin.
No, okay.
Just leave
All
it.
right.
Anyway. That was so goddamn dumb. Anyway, yes, we have 2 trailer in the rear view reviews to do today.
Yeah, we're going to be doing them for Annihilation and for Ready Player One.
Absolutely. And definitely we'll be diving into how they related to the trailers.
Yes.
And also spoilery stuff,
too.
we
are are spoiling them down to their core.
Absolutely.
There is not going to be an unspoiled piece of that film left after we get through
There will be mold all over it.
Absolutely.
Spoiled rotten.
Yes. Or rust, if we're keeping with the trailer theme. So, obviously, if you haven't seen Annihilation or Ready Player One,
right,
we will put in time codes so that way you can kind of skip around freely, do as you please. Now, for our more loyal listeners, you might be like, hey, new listeners, don't get excited about all this trailer in the rear view stuff. These guys only do this shit once every couple of months.
And I say, yeah, okay, fair. That's a fair criticism of our show.
It's a fair criticism, and granted, we have been slipping on this.
Yeah.
And so, we're seeing more movies now. We're going to get way more on top of our trailer in the rear views, and to prove it, we're going to punish ourselves for not being so good. And that is, we are going to see a movie that James and I both gave a never need to see to. Something that neither of us would enjoy.
On any level, this looks terrible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can find a poll in which we have 4 choices laid out of movies that James and I were both like, fuck that, I don't want to see it. And you get to pick which one of those we have to see. We will review it as a mea culpa for not being that good at TiTRV's.
So go ahead and get your votes in for something really, really horrible to make us feel the punishment.
Really
feel
show
the burn,
us.
man.
Really fucking show us.
That's right. That's right. So we have the TiTRV's. Sorry, that's a terrible acronym, isn't it?
It's really sad because we're PC as fuck,
Yeah,
and it's really unfortunate that the acronym of one of our most prominent segments is a slang word for female genital. Well, not
Hey, it's gender neutral, man.
Fair.
Men have tits too. That's
God
right.
Damn it, you are so PC.
Hot damn. Cheers. Cheers to that. Cheers to tits. God, what an unfortunate name. Anyway, should we start talking about this The Man Who Killed Don Quixote trailer?
Let's sling a few arrows at it. Let's see if we can kill him ourselves.
Don Quixote de la Mancha, come to restore the lost age of chivalry. Well, I wrote that. Blasphemer, a hand of our God in heaven wrote me. Can I read? A peasant like you cannot read. I will sound the words, and you can look at the pictures. He actually believes he's Don Quixote.
This is going to be fun.
He's a saint. He's insane.
Look no further, we found The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. This is written and directed by Terry Gilliam.
I've heard of him.
Starring Adam Driver, Olga Kurylenko,
Okay.
Stellan Skarsgård, Jonathan Pryce.
Jonathan Pryce, baby.
For people who really love Terry Gilliam movies, Jonathan Pryce was the main character in Brazil, which was kind of like his breakout movie as a director. Not including Monty Python.
I was gonna
stuff.
say.
Not including Monty Python.
Technically, he directed Holy Grail.
He did,
so.
yeah. So, what is going on in The Man Who Killed Don Quixote?
Yeah.
It's pretty apparent I have no idea what the fuck is going on, so James, can you enlighten us?
Let's dive into what we think this movie's about.
Yes.
So, clearly, it draws on, if you know anything about the character Don Quixote, who is a fictional character from a fiction book. So, I don't really know much about that book. I never read it. I don't know much about it. What I do know is he's an adventurer, and he's got Sancho Panza at his side, and they do adventures. And there's something to do with windmills. I did know that before this trailer.
Okay.
So this trailer happens. There's windmills.
Sure enough.
Yeah. The story checks out so far. And then, so Adam Driver is just kind of like staring at this man who is Don Quixote. And then it peels back in layers that this is not the time period in which Don Quixote is set. This is like modern times. And Adam Driver literally says in the trailer, this guy thinks he's the Don Quixote. So either it's going to be a time travel movie, or it's just a crazy guy who thinks he's this made up fictional character. It could go in many directions. I mean, we pinpointed that it's modern times because you caught a car.
There was a
trailer,
car, yeah.
and it's brief.
Yeah,
man.
it's blink and you miss it.
Yeah, so there's a car in the trailer, and then I caught modern windmills. So clearly, I think this is taking place in modern times. Anyway, that's what we got to go off of with this.
As of now, yeah.
It's a comedy.
Yes.
It looks like a comedy,
Yeah,
anyway.
and I mean...
We've been fooled before, Kevin.
We certainly have. And overall, I would say that the comedic beats are landing. It seems like it is carrying some physical comedy, which, like, obviously Monty Python has. And then there's also just, like, this weird, fantastical character in Don Quixote.
Right.
Is he actually Don Quixote, or is this just a crazy dude? Is kind of left up to interpretation as far as the trailer is concerned. I wish, as far as the trailer is concerned, it gave me a little bit more breadth in terms of
What the movie's about.
Yeah, I guess so. Like
we know the setup.
Yeah,
sort of. Now that I'm thinking out loud, though, and it kind of matches up with the trailer, I think Don Quixote like attacks a windmill.
Yeah,
in the book. Oh, can you confirm that? Have you read it?
Have I read Don Quixote?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So
no, public school in Wausau, Wisconsin, man. There was no way in fuck. Yeah. I read Hatchet 3 times, but
I did not even know it was a book until like 2 years ago. So anyway,
what a bunch of Philistines we
are.
No,
I think I do remember hearing something about like people talking about it in passing, saying like he attacked a windmill because he thought it was
a monster,
not an inanimate object, right?
Sure.
So I think there's remnants of that in there. He seems to get caught on one of the propellers of the windmill. That looks like it could be funny.
Clearly not too stressed about the windmills, because as soon as a woman he finds attractive steps up to try and help him, seems to forget all about that windmill and is focusing on her boobs.
He's trying his best to
put on charm,
put up a facade that he's focused on her eyes.
Yeah,
beautiful eyes. I'm really staring at your eyes here. So yeah, I thought it was an interesting trailer because it does start epic. It looks like an adventure epic. The way it's shot, the imagery, and the tone of it, and the music. But I think the first joke we get is basically... Actually, Kevin, I can't remember what the first joke we get is. Do you know what the first joke is that breaks the ice to, lead your hand into this is a comedy?
I do kind of think it's that first windmill gag.
It's a visual gag.
Yeah.
Then. Okay, I think you're right. And then, the music changes to a more comedic tone. And then the first verbal joke we get, I believe, is Adam Driver talking about reading... and Don Quixote is you just look at the pictures, and he's got really great facial nonverbal humor going on there. I thought it shifted into humor really well. It felt refreshing.
Yeah,
it was a refreshing trailer. And then I feel like the end button it's not a misstep. It's just a safe ending that I feel was a little boring. So the button is just him saying, I am Don Quixote, very seriously. So it's a very safe button that wasn't very exciting, especially with how energetic and lighthearted the humor was for the most of it. So those are my general thoughts on it. What do you think?
It's really interesting to see or hear about, a passion project that has been... clearly on the back of some writer or director's mind for years and years and years. So, this has been Terry Gilliam's white fucking whale for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting finally seeing it being realized. Every aspect of that production looks like it has been painstakingly thought over, because what the fuck else did Terry Gilliam have to do but think about it for 20 years? So it's this is so delicately woven and crafted, almost to a meticulous point. And sometimes that busyness is a little bit too much for me, but that isn't really so much a knock, because I understand that's just the style and tone. And if you like that style and tone, you're going to eat this thing up like it's a cupcake.
Yeah.
And again, I do wish that I had a better idea of what the central conflict was, other than this guy thinks he's Don Quixote, but he's not. But is he? And that's pretty much all we have to go off of.
Exactly. We are unsure as the audience right now.
Yeah. And I think by ending it on the button of I am Don Quixote, it kind of gives you the sense of well, even if he's not, wouldn't it just be nice if he was?
Sure.
To just believe that this fictional character is a real person. Yeah. I would be totally charmed by that. So overall, right now for me, I am going to go to a very low need to see it. I definitely see quite a bit there that has me really excited. And I'm divorcing it from the context of this has been in production hell for 20 years.
Right, yeah.
And I'm looking at this just as the film itself. And would I be interested in this? And the answer is honestly yes.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of different questions for, is it set in present day? Is it set back in the 1600s and Terry Gilliam just woefully forgot to have them move the car out of the shot? I mean, as of right now, I'd be interested to find out those answers in a theater. How about you?
Yeah. It is difficult for me to set aside the fact that the production hell that it's gone through, because this is a historical moment that this movie's actually coming out. And again, a trailer.
I don't even really believe it's happening until I see it in a theater.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like, is this real? Did everyone just get together just to do a prank trailer? This is right down the middle for me. So sure. I'm at a very solid, unswaying need to see more. And like I said, I thought the humor was very charming. And it was it felt like a breath of fresh air. Mm-hmm. Having said that, I still don't know what this movie's about. There's some strange things in the trailer too that I just feel didn't really need to be here. Or maybe this is something from the book that I would appreciate more if I read the book. Going along with the end button, he says, I am Don Quixote, and then it cuts to 3 fat guys running. That was strange, and I didn't really understand.
It's a very French trailer.
Yeah. Is it really? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's just a lot of stuff in it just making me go, why? So it's a very solid need to see more for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
totally fair. Well, how about we both talk about a movie that we gave need to sees to?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right,
Feed
cool.
me, man. What do we want to talk about?
Let's fucking destroy everything and get into Annihilation.
Ooh, very good segue.
Can you describe its form?
No.
Was it carbon-based?
I don't know.
Did it communicate with you?
It reacted to me.
You really have no idea what it was.
So yeah, overall, I'm pretty sold on this.
Yeah, I was very impressed with it, and this is a need to see it for me.
That's a need to see from you.
Oh yeah, it's a need to see it for me, Kevin. Why? What do you got to say about it?
Well, I mean, I do. I think there's some really good stuff in that. That said, I have nothing to retort. It's a need for seeing.
Oh, cheers, sir.
Right, so that was a little trailer from Annihilation. That was some audio from our review of Annihilation.
Let's annihilate this
Yep,
review.
We got some whiskey. We're ready to get annihilated. Let's start right out the gate. Do we feel like that trailer
Yes.
set us up properly for the film?
Just as a brief reminder, we reviewed the teaser trailer.
Yep.
That was the teaser trailer. So before the trailers really started diving into the exploration, characters, and stuff like that. And we both gave it a need to see it based off of the teaser trailer. Like, that doesn't really happen for us all that often.
Yeah, typically we look at a teaser trailer and we're like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
especially with, like, comic book movies, because the teaser trailers nowadays, it's like, we're not even gonna fucking show you Venom. We're
Right.
just gonna have Eddie Brock on a table
Don't
for a
get me
bit.
started
Here's
on
your
Venom.
teaser.
Don't get me started on Venom.
This actually gave us a pretty solid idea
Yeah.
for what the film was about.
Yeah.
The style, its tone.
Without spoon feeding it to you, too.
Totally,
like, you
yeah.
knew it was an alien movie from. Could you describe its form?
And her
was
being like,
it carbon based?
yeah, and her just frequently answering no.
Yeah.
And us wondering, well, then what the fuck is it?
Yeah, it's like clearly an alien life form of some sort, or an interdimensional being, or whatever you want to call it. So it's very rare that we both gave a teaser a need to see it. Like,
Sure.
I mean, I kind of do with like certain, like Star Wars movies and stuff like that, but I'll admit it, that's more of a bias on my part. Annihilation is a completely original. Wait, not completely original, because it's based off of a book. I take that back. But
Rewind!
yeah, rewind. It's something we were not aware of.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't read the book. Did you read the book?
No.
The
It's
trailer.
a trilogy of books, apparently.
Jesus. Okay. Well, the teaser came out, and I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I was sold right away. So
Yeah.
that's pretty rare. Based off of that teaser, I thought it was pitched and sold absolutely perfectly in the teaser trailer.
And see, for me, I think I have now an example of the opposite of what happened with Arrival. So Arrival really set it up as it's all tension-based and all that sort of stuff.
Right,
And
yep.
there is the famed James Leesky was super fucking mad at the shot of the helicopter shooting rockets debacle. It will go down in the hollows of Trailer Hitch history.
I wasn't going to bring it up, Kevin. Just when I thought I got out, you just drag me back in.
You're goddamn right I did.
Goddamn right.
So
Fucking
like
Arrival.
that teaser definitely set us up for thinking like, oh, shit's really going to hit the fan.
Right.
Then we saw the film and it turned out the opposite. This was just purely driven by the communication of aliens.
So in that sense, the trailer did not sell it quite right. It was a little
to
off.
to a degree.
Yeah.
Now
So in this one-
Annihilation, I felt that teaser really set you up for a strange but fairly straightforward sci-fi thriller. What we have instead, the end gets batshit. There are a lot of things that come up, and they don't necessarily explain it. Whereas Ex Machina, which was Alex Garland's first movie, you know full well what is happening throughout Ex Machina. And
Right, right, yep.
there's never any room for interpretation. Whereas Annihilation, I would say the last like 20 to 30 minutes of it is just like, what do you think is happening here? And what are you projecting onto it?
Do you feel like that wasn't present in that teaser trailer?
Yeah, I mean, like, it didn't really sell me on that aspect of it, of the abstraction, but I welcomed that surprise when I ended up seeing the movie and was actually really happy that it was there.
Okay.
Do I think that this sold it effectively? Yes, with an asterisk. This gives you, like, the gist of what you're in for.
Sure.
But there's more in store for you than what the teaser is giving you, which honestly is kind of, like, the ideal for a trailer when you think about it.
Right, yeah.
It's like, it's giving you the broader strokes where you're like, yeah, that looks really interesting. And then when you see the film, it's still a complete surprise. Because I think something for me personally, I really dislike trailers that give away the entire movie, or seemingly give away the entire movie.
Especially for certain genres.
Yeah.
This one, not so much.
Indie dramedies are really happy to be like, here's your entire fucking movie. Go see this.
True.
So yeah, I would say overall, yes, it sells it well, but also know going in that it's going to get sort of strange.
Yeah, see, and I felt like the teaser gave you enough strange that I'm confident in saying it sold the strange properly.
Sure.
How strange it gets, you are right, it goes more than you would think it would.
Yeah.
It gets weird, people.
And if that sounds like something that's your cup of tea, but you haven't gotten around to seeing it, you should skip the fuck ahead, because we're going to get right into what happens throughout this film.
Yeah, let's completely spoil it now. So
now you're warned. Now we're getting into the actual movie itself.
Sure.
And I loved this fucking movie. Honestly, for me, I liked it more as it went on. So initially, it starts with a fairly straightforward sci-fi premise, which is Natalie Portman plays a professor. She's a biologist.
Yeah.
And her husband is a soldier, has been AWOL for over a year, but he walks in through the front fucking door and is suddenly back. But something is really off about him. All of a sudden, he starts to convulse, and en route to the hospital, this like caravan of government folk pull his seizuring ass out of the ambulance and throw him into like this sealed contained bay. And then that's when you find out, okay, there's this big enclosed area. Something hit this lighthouse. There is now some sort of field of matter around it. All we know is everyone who goes in there ends up dying, with the exception of your husband. Your husband made it back out, and we don't know what the fuck is going on.
So we need to study him and the whole situation. Yeah.
Yes. And so Natalie Portman, the head of the team, is played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. There are a few other people in the team. Notably, one of them is Gina Rodriguez, who I would say, James, gives a jaw-dropping performance. Her jaw will be on the your jaw will be on the floor when you see Gina Rodriguez in this movie.
I would say bear down for it, guys.
I would agree with that statement.
We're spoiling something here. Her jaw gets ripped off by a bear.
We'll get there. But anyway, I just gave you, like, the opening of the film. Like, that's the worst thing I can say about the movie. I felt like we could have gotten to the interior of the Shimmer earlier than that. I was kind of feeling the length as it was going. Once we get inside the Shimmer, though, and they start losing track of time, then I was like, ooh, something weird is happening here.
Yeah.
And so, like, we get, like, some fairly sort of stock sci-fi horror scares of, like, something is coming after us. Oh, it's an alligator. Wait, this looks like it was crossbred with a shark. How the fuck can this happen?
Right.
And then we get deeper into the rabbit hole. And the further it went down that rabbit hole, the more I loved it. And that includes the last 20 minutes of it. The last 20 minutes of the movie seemed to be pretty divisive among people. I know people who absolutely love that ending. I know people who really hate it. You can totally chalk me up in the loved column.
Okay, cool.
I will say broader strokes. Like, the bear scene, which we have referenced, is amazing. It is so creepy intense. There's a bear. The general idea is whatever this alien form is it's fusing matter.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of, like, animals that have sort of crossbred with each other. A lot of corpses become, like, plants. And the air in, like, the plants specifically are, like, starting to fuse and mimic human nature. And so, like, you'll see, like, these plants that have grown into the shape of people. But notably, and where it gets super interesting, is there is a bear that ends up attacking and killing one of the team members, and its roar are the screams of the woman that it killed.
Yeah.
And it is goddamn terrifying.
Yeah, the screams are pretty haunting.
It's amazing. Sure. And yeah, I mean, like, it only gets even more strange from there, because then you have a team member walking out and then just probably turning into a plant. Whoops! And she more or less...
Or ducked behind a bush and implied to her friend that she turned into a plant. Just saying we didn't see it happen.
It doesn't happen this quick, but eventually... and then it gets further and further. But yeah, the end... Now, granted, Jennifer Jason Leigh screaming, Annihilation! And then, like, belching light. Pretty fucking goofy. But what's effectively, like, the duck soup mirror gag, but played as, like, a horror thriller, where Natalie Portman is encountering, like, this alien form that's more or less mimicking herself and mimicking every movement. I was just, like, in love with that shit. Like,
yeah,
it was
a cool
so
scene.
Fascinating.
It was a very cool scene.
Yeah. And the movie does, I think, a really good job of making these thematic implications of it being about self-destruction. And, like, every member on that team, there's some aspect of their lives that is self-destructive. And specifically, Jennifer Jason Leigh's character is like, well, why else would you want to come in here? Everyone who comes in here dies. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, the lady that turns into a plant more or less accepts her fate and more or less accepts the fact that she is self-destruction. And it's notable that she is the one who's been cutting. You have Jennifer Jason Leigh, whose character you end up finding out has cancer and know she's going to die anyway.
Right.
And it's like, I'm going to do my best to actually get to this lighthouse before I end up dying. And Natalie Portman literally wrestling with an abstract form of herself is self versus self, like that sort of story.
Sure.
And those stories I always end up finding really fascinating. And so, on top of it being a pretty well-constructed sci-fi thriller, I thought, like, the thematic implications behind it were really awesome. Mm-hmm. And again, like, the first, like, 20 to 30 minutes, I still ended up liking. But once I got, like, to the end, I'm like, Jesus, like, I'm in love with that section of the film.
Yeah.
And it's just more, like, in retrospect, instead of it being 30 minutes, maybe that first act could have been, like, 20. But that's, like, a really minor nitpick I have on it. Otherwise, I loved it. So how about you?
Cool. Yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
End.
All right, cool. Well,
No, not really. I saw it a while ago now. I saw it probably around the weekend it came out. And I really enjoyed it.
Off.
I know, right? I really enjoyed it at the moment that I watched it. Then a week went past, and no one else I knew saw it. Then another week went past, still no one saw it, so I didn't really talk about it with anyone. And then after, like, 2 weeks, I just realized, you know, I haven't really thought about this movie, like, at all since I've seen it.
Well, Boo, you got me. I'm here right now. Let's talk.
Maybe that's because no one had seen it at the time, but for me, that's just not the greatest signifier of seeing a movie and then just like, oh yeah, I guess I did see that movie 2 weeks ago. I forgot about that. So I liked it, and I was happy with the ending. I wasn't one of those people in the camp where you said, "Oh, the ending is where it fell apart for a lot of people," because it did for a lot of people. I wasn't one of them. The mirroring scene with Natalie Portman in The Being was really awesome. Everything under the lighthouse and all the stuff with Oscar Isaac too with that scene was all really great.
Yeah, because then that's the definitive moment when you really, because you've been getting hints that, like, whoever came through that front door at the beginning of the film might not really be your husband.
Absolutely.
And that's the moment that solidifies, like, whatever is writeing in that hospital bed is not your husband.
Right, that corpse right there against the wall, that's your husband.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Yep.
So I loved the ending, and I even loved the abstractness of the actual ending, which, spoiler alert, she beats this being in the lighthouse. She, like, destroys it. And Natalie Portman gets away, and she gets out of the shimmer, and she meets up with her husband, and then her eye has, like, this shimmer to it that her fake husband does as well. And it's basically implied she was in the shimmer too long, so she basically turned into the alien.
She is now assimilated, yeah.
Right, sure. And I was fine with that, too. Like, I'm cool with that aspect of it. It was just, like, the small details along the way that just didn't really sell it for me. For example, Tessa Thompson turning into a tree lady.
Yeah.
I just, like...
It's the tree that keeps on giving, James.
Sure. Like, look, I understand the broad stroke that entering the shimmer morphs and changes your matter. I get it. But it just felt like the movie just determines how it's going to change you depending on how I think it's going to look coolest at this moment in time. So it's like, you're going to turn into a tree randomly. No one else is going to turn into a tree for no reason. But Natalie Portman, you're just going to slowly turn into the alien. And then Gina Rodriguez, you're just going to slowly start losing your mind and then get eaten by a bear. And then...
Jason Lee,
you're
gonna burp light.
You're just gonna burp light, and then that was strange. And then like everyone just started accumulating like this weird infinity tattoo on their wrists for like no reason that never was really explained. There was just a lot of weird stuff that was just like, I'm fine with things being vague, like. And I hate to bring it up, but I love to bring it up, Kevin. One of the reasons I love Prometheus so much is that at its theme, it is about how the creation of life makes no sense. It is a 1 in a billion shot that this chaos happened. And it doesn't have to make sense as why, this evolved into this evolved into this, and blah, blah, blah. That's what a lot of people had problems with Prometheus with, is, this doesn't make sense how this becomes this. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. That's the point of Prometheus. Life itself is chaos. It shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That's the craziness of it. That's what's so interesting. And I feel like Annihilation is kind of that same thing. Like, with the arrival of this alien and the shimmer... It adapting everything and it changing everything and annihilating everything is chaos, and there's really no rhyme or reason to it. But in this specific movie, it very much felt like, it's very poetic and convenient that Tessa Thompson is turning into a plant lady right now around all these other plant corpses, but no one else is. I don't really understand why.
And that's a pretty valid criticism, I think. To be fair, the corpse they find at the bottom of the pool, which that is presumably the guy that they see in the video.
I totally forgot about that.
He is a plant corpse.
Is he though?
Isn't he?
Was he like a tree?
Yeah, I mean, like he
was like,
there's like vines and like other plantish shit coming out of him.
I forgot about him. Right? Yeah, but like, there was something else growing in him though, which in the video when they cut him open, there was something moving. Remember?
Yes.
So it's not just tree with him. It was tree and eels.
I think that
intestine eels.
Yes. I think that was just more so supposed to show that like. It had gotten inside of him, and like once this thing is inside of you, you are now no longer human, more or less. There is some other matter. But it's
like, and then is the tattoo the signifier that it got inside of you?
And I remember there being like a fairly interesting explanation for the tattoo that I read somewhere.
Exactly,
and I don't
you had to read it though.
Thing.
Like when you watch the movie, it's just kind of like
it's not. She has like the start of the tattoo before she goes in, but like once she goes in, it like fills in to make a full like.
And infinity. Everyone else acquires it too. It's not just her. Gina Rodriguez. It shows up on her, and then it shows up on some people in the video of the men too. Like, again, I also read stuff after I saw the movie, but watching the movie, you're just kind of like, this is a real stretch for trying to make people think here. So, I liked it, but I had some qualms with it, I guess. Qualms is a good word. I like the word qualms.
Qualms is a good word. And I mean, I don't necessarily know if the self-destruction theme, I don't know if Gina Rodriguez is being fueled by the quote-unquote alien or the shimmer in those scenes.
So she's just not affected at all. Maybe.
I mean, like, she might be, but, like, I don't necessarily know if her actions are determined by the shimmer in that sense. Like,
No.
she is incredibly paranoid, and she is incredibly insistent that they get the fuck out as soon as possible.
And I think you're right, because when she does realize there's a fucking bear here and it's going to kill us all, you can kind of see on her face, like, I made a huge mistake here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also, like, they were withholding the information from the rest of the team that her husband is in the video, and he's specifically the dude cutting that guy open.
Yeah. I also had a hard time believing everyone's reaction was as upset as... Like, I just don't see why they would be that upset about it. They were all, like, so offended that Natalie Portman kept that from them. I'm like... You guys haven't been friends, like, forever. You just met her.
I don't think it's necessarily, like, a personal courtesy. I think it's a professional one. Like, why the fuck didn't we know about this? And, like,
but it doesn't matter.
I think it throws... because it throws her credibility into question.
I guess,
because then it's like she's not being motivated by the mission. She's motivated for reasons we don't know.
Sure.
And maybe they are pure in that I am trying to figure out what's going on with my husband. Or it could be, like, maybe she's fucking nuts too.
Right. And on her side, that makes sense. But on their side, these professional scientists... Why would they care that much? I just don't see them caring that much.
Wasn't Gina Rodriguez not a scientist, though? I thought she was the only one who wasn't a scientist.
She might not have been.
She was she was Army.
But everyone was upset about it, though. It wasn't just Gina Rodriguez.
Well, Tessa Thompson was basically just... Because she was also bound and gagged, and so she was more so just kind of like...
Well, she had vines growing inside her veins for the time being.
So she had more on her mind.
She had more on her mind.
And the other one got fucking eaten before they found out. So.
Yeah. Or mauled.
Mauled is the proper nomenclature.
Anyway.
I will also say that Ex Machina is a fairly self-contained film.
Thank you for bringing that up again. I did want to say I like Ex Machina more. I think that's more my speed. It not being as vague in its themes and in its plot, you know.
Sure, and I don't necessarily think that this film is deliberately trying to be vague. I think that it is just slightly more abstract, and I think it is posing questions that intentionally it's not trying to answer, because, like, this is an unidentified phenomenon. As she says, I don't know if this is carbon-based or not. I can't describe its form.
Right.
And so... if those are the variables, there should, I think, be some sort of mystery to the film. So no, I mean, like, off the top of my head, if I were to give you an explanation for the infinity tattoos everyone has, I'd be pulling it out of my butt. Like, I don't know. But, like, it's not something that I feel like I need to have explained, otherwise I'm distracted or anything.
Yeah. You know what? I think a part of it that bothered me was the fact that it was ink tattoo. It's like, why not make it like a weird birthmark type of thing?
Well,
it's just like was so obviously, no, that's ink.
They do actually explain that. If you remember right at the end, they explain how the shimmer started out in the prison yard, and that's where it learned to make ballpoint pen tattoos.
Started with spiders, but really gravitated towards infinity
it really
symbols.
started with everyone on the first planet got spider webs on the elbows, but like now it's just like, that's too much work.
Yeah.
And now it's just doing the figure eights. But anyway, as I was saying, Ex Machina is a much more self-contained film, and it is smaller. It was obviously made on a much smaller budget.
I mean, the message is more my speed as well, which
is fuck technology.
Basically.
But like Ex Machina, I thought was a very well made film. I thought it was really well directed. And this is Alex Garland, I feel like fucking unleashing. And like, oh, I get to do gore now? Okay, you're gonna see a lady's jaw get ripped off on screen.
Yeah.
Like, and he is just completely cutting loose, and I think that Alex Garland has topped himself as a director in terms of what he can be capable of doing. Now, whether or not that lands for you, James, or me, or you listening to this is entirely up to you. But, like, I do think that he is expanding his scope a lot more. And
But it's an undisputed fact that his best film is Dread. Right?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, like, there's no comparison.
Yeah, I mean, like...
I'm glad we can agree on that.
28 days later, close second, but, yeah.
You mean weeks?
No, he wrote days.
Oh, wrote. I'm just talking directed. Oh. Because did you know So apparently...
Did he direct it?
I think it was Carl Urban actually came out recently and said, no, he actually directed it. Kind of like a Spielberg really directed Poltergeist scenario.
Shut up.
Yeah. That's a recent article, man.
God damn, that makes me happy.
I know, right?
It also, I was about to say, it explains why I like Dread.
It's such a good movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail
No,
you
that's totally okay. So, I mean, yeah, I do. I really love this movie. So, again, our grading scale for these are should see it again, glad I saw it, should have waited, or shouldn't have seen it.
Exactly, right.
For me, it would be a should see again.
Okay, great. The tippy top of our scale, man.
Yeah, man, the tippy top. I really enjoyed this film.
Okay, great. I will say mine now.
Yes.
Mine is, I think it's fair, and I think I backed up why, at least for me. It's a shoulda waited, I think, for me, at the end of the day. I did enjoy what I got, but there was just a lot of just weird details that I got hung up on. And normally I don't get hung up on weird details.
You got really hung up on the helicopter shooting rockets at the end of the Arrival trailer.
You're right, I did. I do get hung up on weird details a lot. I take it back. I take everything back. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.
That's totally fair, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's hit pause on this game. Let's remind ourselves what we thought about Ready Player One, and then let's dive into that.
Respawn.
Come with me. This is the Oasis. It's a place where the limits of reality are your own imagination. People come to the Oasis for all the things they can do, but they stay because of all the things they can be. I'm here talking to all of you now because our future's being threatened. Go, go, go!
This looks like a energy drink of a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And it's something that I didn't really anticipate seeing from a Steven Spielberg directed picture, really ever again. He's really been just focusing on serious films.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know we would be getting something like this again, and it looks like a lot of fun. So there you go.
Right, so I mean, that's us giving a little spiel of what we basically were thinking when it came to...
I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember it well.
Now, did this trailer set the movie up effectively? And I remember looking back there's some holes here for me, and is this going to get into the broader philosophical implications of living in a VR world? Is this going to show the effects of people living in a VR world and me being that's not really what this movie is? I don't know what you think, but it completely is oh, you want to think about this? You're in the wrong place.
You're in the wrong movie.
Yeah, this is Ready Player One. Do you like 80 references? If no, fuck you.
Yeah,
there's the door.
Yeah, you knew what this was.
Yes.
It sold the movie perfectly. Absolutely
yes.
Perfectly. If you were disappointed with the movie, it must have been for a different reason than the fact that it was exactly what the trailer told you it was going to be. Because it was.
Yeah.
It was what the trailers told you. There's 80s references galore. Not even 80s references. Just pop culture references galore.
Yeah.
It's going to be a race. It's going to be poppy and fun. And if you're expecting anything else, just go see Annihilation, maybe. No, I don't mean to rip on Annihilation. Yeah, so there you go. We got it. There, we did it.
That pretty much covers it. Do you want to just start spoiling the movie?
Let's start spoiling the movie. So if you're waiting to hear our non-spoiler review and breakdown, that was it. It was very short and to the point. It sold it perfectly.
Yes.
So now let's move on to spoilers. About to spoil the shit out of it.
Okay. Pretty much everything I'm going to say about Ready Player One can be distilled into this anecdote. And this is a true story. It happened in the screening that James and I were at. For those who have seen it, it's the scene where TJ Miller is casting the force field around the last stage,
the
quote unquote.
orb of something or another.
Yeah, the MacGuffin.
Right.
Yeah. He's using the orb of something or another and casting a force field around the MacGuffin.
Sure.
He's reading an inscription, off of some pamphlet or whatever.
Yeah.
And as he was reading the inscription, the woman sitting next to me blurts out the rest of the incantation as it's happening on screen.
In my opinion, gibberish.
Yes, yeah. As far as I know, and as far as James knows, told gibberish.
Right.
This woman finishes it, like, hurriedly, excitedly. But of course, she, like, blurts it out loud in the middle of a quiet theater.
And she's not just a fan of Ready Player One. It's not like she's seen this scene of Ready Player One a billion times.
Right.
This was opening weekend, guys.
Yeah. So, of course, like, she blurts it out loud. And, like, I saw you and we also saw it with our bad movie correspondent, Jenny.
That's right, my roommate.
Yeah.
Roommate Jenny.
Yeah, you and your roommate, like, kind of, like, looked over, like, what the fuck? And I looked over, and immediately she became really bashful and she apologized. I didn't want her genuine enthusiasm to make her feel mortified, and so I leaned in and I whispered, I actually don't know that reference. What is that from? And she looked at me, her eyes were beaming, and she said, Excalibur. And then she paused for a second, and then she said, but they pronounced the spell wrong. And pretty much everything I'm going to say throughout this review is basically going to echo that anecdote. That is how I feel about this film, is it's like, oh, this is really fun and exciting. Oh, but I just thought about it for a second.
Yeah. It's like, doesn't nail it 100%, but that was fun.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fun. Again, not quite nailed it, but you know what? It was fun anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is the quintessential popcorn movie.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. And how do you feel about that?
You're right. Like, I've seen a lot of positive stuff, especially after that first weekend. But, like, a week removed, I started seeing a lot of articles that are just like, this is the worst Steven Spielberg movie of all time. Fact. Just like, wow. Where is your inner child? Like, just gone. Just completely off this planet, somewhere else. I feel bad for them. Like, there's a lot of fun to be had at this movie if you can let go and just have the fun. It's there, man. Just take it.
Yeah. And
it's as Anorak said with the crystal key, are you gonna take it or not?
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, broader points for the movie. I will say I wish that Olivia Cook's character was the main character and not Wade.
Okay.
I think Wade has roughly the personality as a piece of toast.
Sure. Not very.
There's a little jelly on it.
Not as charismatic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when he is interacting with Olivia Cook, I think he shines more.
Yeah.
When it's just like him, especially his voiceover. The voiceover was not one of my favorite parts of the movie. It was very much just like read from it felt like he was just like reading this from a script.
And it's not necessarily the actor does a bad job. It's just the character exists to move the plot forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, then just, like you said, it might just be the way the voiceover was written, too.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not a big fan of voiceovers in movies unless it's like super earned and motivated. And this just like, nope, this was just voiceover for voiceover's sake.
We needed exposition.
Yeah. But anyway, I feel like he shined more when he was acting with Olivia Cook.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that about Olivia Cook because that is a testament to how much better of a character she is in this movie than she is in the book. In the book, she is barely represented as a person. Like, I really liked her in the book, and then I read some criticisms, and I'm just like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. Like, she's just there for Wade to fawn over and like be obsessed with and distract him from the true goal of winning the Easter egg. And then eventually come to terms with, oh no, we need to work together. Like that, she's just there for that. In the book, everything happens through Wade. Getting captured, getting arrested, going to IOI and being imprisoned in that cell and escaping the cell and like figuring shit out. That's all Wade in the book. So when they gave that to Artemis in the movie, I'm like, this is awesome. And she's doing great work with it. And that is maybe what inspired you to go, oh, she would have been a great main character for this. And it's because I think they did a better job of giving more things to the other characters to do.
Yeah.
She was represented really well in the movie with the exception of one scene. And one scene in particular, I think, undid a lot of the goodwill it was setting up with her character and actually went in the book actually did it better. So they're like talking about a clue in the real world, and she just like stops everything to grab Wade's hand and just be like, "You're gonna win. You're the best." And I'm just like, what? Why is she saying this to him? This is stupid. You're just being there as like a cheerleader, essentially, at this point for the main character, who clearly can't do this without you. You are the reason he's going to win this. And you should give yourself more credit, and you should just try and win it yourself, in my opinion.
I would trust her with the Oasis.
Yeah, in the book, she is way more, I'm cutting you out of my life. I need to focus on winning this egg. I need to be the one to do it. And that's what I respect about her more in the book. Where in the movie, that line is so fucking weird. It's just like, nope, I'm here to serve you, straight white male character.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Yeah, so that line really bothered me. But other than that, I had a really fun time with this movie.
This is a weird left curve, but I wish that her deformity, quote unquote, was a bit more severe. The character as an avatar alludes to, like, oh, I'm not so pretty. And then you meet her in the real world, and she is really pretty, except there's, like, this slight birthmark that's on her face, and by the way, she has bangs that cover it up anyway.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah,
like,
and that's something that was just faithful from the book, and it's something that maybe they could have amped up a little bit more. But, I mean, maybe it's a commentary on the fact that young people get hung up on their insecurities, and most of the time you don't need to be.
Yeah.
It's just your own insecurity that you will eventually get over. And I think there's something to be said with that. And I have heard a lot of criticism on the fact that, oh man, she was so ugly, right? Just kidding. She was beautiful. Why is she so self-conscious? I'm like, because people are self-conscious about ridiculous things.
And especially as teenagers.
Especially as young people, and... So I gave that a pass. I did notice. I'm like, that isn't much.
That is a really fair point. I think if we're talking about representation, though, it might have been cool if she was, like, overweight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, why not?
And it's something where, like, she could say, I'm really self-conscious about this, which a lot of people are self-conscious about their weight, and it not mattering because that doesn't matter. It's who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And, like, Wade falling for the mind of Artemis, that transcending, it doesn't matter what you look like. So, I mean, like, I can see both sides of the argument. I think you make really good and valid points, but...
Thank you. I do, too.
But yeah, man, I mean, like, overall, like, the challenges... I did really like the going backwards through the racetrack thing and seeing the race from underneath the level.
Yeah, that was cool. Everything looked cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I did like the thematic implications of you have to go backwards, because that's basically what this entire fucking movie is doing by only referencing pop culture. One, and two, it did feel like a cheat code for an old video game.
Oh, there's tons of video games where it's not even a cheat code, but sometimes it's
yeah,
just
like an Easter egg.
Or like side-scrollers, you always go right. Every once in a while, they'll have a level where you go left and you find, like, an extra life there.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and so, like... that felt really true to not just, like, the pop culture it was referencing, but it was, like, I think being faithful to the spirit of it, too.
Yeah.
That's the sort of stuff that I really loved. Taking The Shining and turning it into a platformer level is awesome.
I've seen the movie twice now. Easily, The Shining is the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
From them figuring out what movie they went and saw, all the way through... Artemis asking her to dance and getting the jade key. That whole segment from beginning to end is the best part of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
I mean, yeah, and so, like, there are aspects of it that I really enjoyed, but, like, overall, if we're talking about movies that, like, have sort of left me the further and further I've gotten away from seeing the film... it seems like
that's one for
you
you
and I, like, just have swapped roles.
Sure, yeah,
in this
I think
particular
that's fair.
review, where it's like, I really haven't given Ready Player One that much thought since I've seen it.
Okay, yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, again, just since the main character is such a vacuum, like, it's hard for me to really attach to the movie, because Sometimes movies do that, where they give you a blank slate of a main character so that way you can insert yourself. La La Land is certainly guilty of that.
Sure.
And that's probably what Ready Player One is going for, but, like, I think when you have a blank slate of a character for a video game-inspired film, you kind of have, like, it's like a copy of a copy. At that point, if it's just a blank slate anyway, then I would rather just play this as a video game, because then I can actually be in control. And if I'm going and seeing a film, I want to see someone interesting behind the controller. And that just wasn't really there for me, and I think that really did kind of pull me out a little bit.
That's why I think it worked best when it was a group effort, which is why the Shining scene worked so well, and the actual battle at the end worked well, because it was just them all battling together.
And that is really where most of the personality comes out in the movie. I do think that Mark Rylance's character is totally believable.
Very
and,
fun, too.
I think Rylance plays it really well. I remember seeing the trailer and being like, man, Mark Rylance looks bored. And then I saw the film and was like, oh no, he is just
that was a choice.
Incredibly socially awkward nerd.
Yeah.
And it works, I think, incredibly effectively.
Yeah, you see him come more out of his shell every time he's talking, every time he has a scene with Simon Pegg. Because that's the point. Like, that was like his only friend, really.
Again, if you're listening to this being like, but do they get into the broader implications of these people living in a simulacrum? First of all, no. Second of all, you can find a different word other than simulacrum. That's a bit pretentious of you. Okay, can you get past that? Like, does the story and all that stuff, like, work for you? I mean, like, you have, like, the shadowy corporate figure that wants to win so that way they can throw in pop-up ads, which that joke really works for me. But it's like, the idea is, oh, these people want to take this game and take away the choice from you how you can enjoy the game by throwing these pop-up ads. And then, like, the players win it, and it's this big celebratory moment, and then they close the Oasis on Tuesdays and Thursdays so that way you can live in the real world. It kind of seems like they're taking away the choice from the people, which is effectively what the corporation was trying to do, one. And two, I mean, they really do set the real world up to be shitty. So now are people going to be improving the real world? It would have been kind of nice to have seen maybe, like, hey, now that we, like, can't go in and escape for 24 hours, looking around, my car that's packed on top of another car, that's packed on top of another car, that's packed on top of another car, kind of looks shitty. I should tidy up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, there are just certain aspects that I think could have been explored a bit more.
Sure.
But you just enjoyed the ride wholesale?
Yeah, I'd say so. I wouldn't put it at the tippy top of need to see again, even though I did. I saw it twice.
You did.
But if I'm giving it an honest rating, especially after that first time I saw it, it was a solid glad I saw it.
And this, for me, I mean, everything I'm saying is a shoulda waited. But to be fair, if you're going to see this movie, I recommend seeing it in a theater. And seeing it on the biggest screen possible, seeing it with the best sound possible.
Surround sound for sure, yeah.
Because this is a spectacle film. And so, like, the lightest of the light, glad I saw it.
Yeah,
like,
and that's good. Like, sure. You for other reasons, but yeah, you're glad you saw it.
Yeah, I think the scenes that really work and are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And provide the sort of escapism that video games can provide for people. But at the end of the day, if you are walking into this thing looking to dig in for some depth, just run.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, like, Annihilation came out. Like, there are plenty of other movies out there where if you want arguably too much depth, you can fucking dive into those.
Look, there is a little bit of depth, but it's not that deep.
No,
so it's mostly just about Halliday neglecting personal relationships his entire life.
Yeah.
And how he regrets that. If you want to dig deep for something, that's what it is, and it's not that deep.
Right.
So,
all right, that about covers it.
That about covers it. Yeah, it's great. Consensus. And we saw it together, so that was nice. Yeah.
Aw. All right, well, what never need to see movie would you like James and I to see? You can voice your opinion on Twitter, where we will have a poll up by the time this episode drops. And that is at Trailer Hitch Pod for those listening. Otherwise, you can hit us up on Facebook. You can hit us up on our Gmail, trailerhitchmailbox@gmail.com. You can hit us up on WordPress. You can write a review for us on iTunes. You can rate us on iTunes.
There's so many things you can do, guys.
There's so many ways for you to give feedback, whether it be constructive or whether it just be mean.
That's
you can
right.
do whatever you want. Thank you very much to Danny Schmitz from Lost in a Name for our awesome intro song. Thank you to Casey Clowers for our bitch and outro, which you are going to hear momentarily.
Rock and roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We look forward to hearing from you. Let us know what terrible movie you'd like us to watch. You'll hear from us soon.
Bye, guys.
You can't mount holy sails without a sailor stitch, and you can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
But see, like, the bear scene, I think, really resonated with me solely because the Are you okay?
Just hang on 1 second.
That was... Oh my...
It's like so bad, Kevin.
What is happening to
It's
you?
heartburn. Ugh.
Is that why you've been burping?
I don't know if it's the whiskey or...
Honestly, like, our raw audio is like 3 hours long.
Definitely the whiskey.
Oh. You could have just had water. There was nothing...
No, dude, I swear to God, sometimes if I drink like a whole glass of water really fast, I get heartburn from water.
From water?
From water. I mean, drinking it too fast.
That just sounds like you have something you should go to a doctor for.
And you know, you're not the first person to tell me that.
Is the other person a doctor?
No, just random people who I tell the water thing to.
Oh, okay.
I don't tell doctors this. Why would I?
Why would I want help for this incredibly odd medical issue that
We
I
have
have?
Tums. Tums cures everything.
Should we stop and get you some Tums?
Yeah, let's stop for a bit.
Yeah, I was about to say, man.